In the meantime, we're breaking down the case against 20-year-old Alexee Trevizo. She was accused of leaving her baby to die in a hospital trash can. But as her case stands right now, it's a big question mark. She had a trial date coming up this month, and we know the trial date has just been removed from the docket. So what does that mean? Well, we know that recently the judge ruled that all of the comments made by Trevizo in the presence of hospital staff, as well as that video footage we've seen again and again, would be inadmissible at trial. This includes police body camera video of Trevizo with her mother in her hospital room.
How big is the baby?
It's full term.
What? 9 months?
Nothing was crying.
Lexee, have you watched the news of the girls, that what they do to their babies and what they go to jail?
Nothing was crying.
Now, prosecutors are appealing the trial judge's decision with the New Mexico Supreme Court. They're saying that HIPAA laws do not apply to the initial conversation that Trevizo had with her doctor when she allegedly confessed. So we have no new date yet in this case. It's just a big question mark. It's off the docket. So what's going on here? What are prosecutors doing while they're awaiting this appeal? We want to take a look at some newly obtained police interviews with members of hospital staff. These were in the months following the initial incident.
I was up at the medical floor, and the ER tech had called and said, the doctor wants you to call in the on-call lady for the ultrasound. So I'm like, okay. So I called in the ultrasound tech. And then I don't know how much time lapsed. I don't know that the house supervisor phone rang again, and it was the girl from the lab. And she's like, Marina, they need you here in the ER right now. And I was like, okay, what's going on? Because I had noticed the ER board on the computer. There was like maybe 2 or 3 patients in the ER, I'm not sure. And she's like, well, and I'm like, it's okay. I could just tell by her voice something was wrong. So we hang up, and I take off to the ER. And as I'm coming in through the radiology department into the ER, I meet up with Lori and HT, who was the charge nurse that night. And HT says, okay, look, this is what's happened. This girl came in with abdominal pain, and once we put her in a room, she said she needed to go to the bathroom. We let her go to the bathroom, and she was there for a good while. They had several attempts to knock on the door and ask her, hey, are you okay? Do you need any help? And she said no, she was okay. And so I guess they felt like she was in there for too long, so they were like, hey, you need to come out. They went to get the little key that could open the door. And, excuse me. So I guess when they opened the door, they saw that she was cleaning. She was trying to clean blood. They said it was a 't gory, bloody mess in that bathroom. I did not see that. So then they walked her back, I guess, to her room, which was ER room 2. They walked her back to the room, and at this time, we still didn't know that there was a baby. So they said that they went back into the ER room 2, and I guess they reported to the doctor saying, hey, you know, here's all this blood, like something's going on. And of course, you know, you start thinking of like, what if she tried to do this? What if she tried to do that? Like, they didn't know. So then the ultrasound tech still hadn't got to the hospital at that time yet. So the doctor's like, you know what, I need to probably do like a pelvic exam to look, because like, what's going on? Why is there so much blood? So the charge nurse HT says that, you know, they were in the room and probably trying to set up for the pelvic exam when Lori, the ER tech, had already called Leela, the housekeeper. Hey, can you come and clean this bathroom because there's a lot of blood? So Leila went to clean, and she had already been cleaning pretty much everything when they said that the last thing that she lifted the trash can and she realized that it was heavy. And so then she was like, you know, like, this is weird because this bathroom trash has never been heavy. So she said that when she looked, that she wasn't sure what it was, but she kind of thought that what she was seeing was maybe like a baby. So she said that she yelled out for Lori, and Lori went in there and grabbed it, and I guess sure enough realized that there was a baby in there. So Lori yelled out for HT, or went to get HT. I'm not sure exactly.
Were you at the nurse's station at this point?
No, they still had not told me about that because they didn't know that there was a baby. So I was still at the medical floor.
Okay.
And so then HT, when he's telling me this story, HT tells me that he goes, grabs the trash can, and he lifts the bag, realizes there's a baby in there, so he takes it right across the hall to Trauma 2, tears open the bag, realizes the baby's there, and it was
you
lifeless.
didn't witness any of this?
So at the time, he's telling me that, so he's like, so come on. He's telling me everything I just said is from HT's story.
Okay.
And so then he's like, so come on, here it is. And so I walk into the Trauma 2 room, and sure enough, the baby's on the gurney where he had placed the baby, lifeless. And the trash can is right by the gurney. So, like, of course, I was in utter shock. Like, you know, we were all just in shock. And so they had already called the police. The doctor, I think initially at the time, was about to do a pelvic exam to look to see where all this blood was coming from. And HT had gone and told her, hey, I need you right now, like, you need to come with me. And took her to Trauma 2, showed her what had happened.
And were you still in Trauma 2?
So, no. So that happened, like, before.
Oh, okay.
That happened before I got there. So then when HT told me all of that, when I came out of Trauma 2, HT and Dr. Vasquez, and the authorities, the police officers that were just getting there. And I know that Dr. Vasquez went and HT went out, like, to that little area inside the hospital, but like where the ambulance comes in. And they kind of were giving the police like a heads up of what had happened.
All right, so there's so much to this, so many facets to this case, but this perspective from someone working at the hospital really helps. Let's talk more about what happened on January 27th, 2023, when Alexee Trevizo needed to go to the hospital because of severe back pain. So she's taken to the ER, and it's in going to the bathroom that she gives birth to the baby that she had been carrying for 9 months, but doesn't say anything to anybody until she's specifically asked about it. Let me bring in trial attorney Cannon Kearney, our guest legal analyst this hour. Cannon, good morning, and I want to talk to you about what really is at the heart of this, and it's whether or not her confession should be tossed out here. We know that's what both sides are fighting for. And so let me give you the context. We've got the doctor coming into the room, and we've got mom there, and we've got a police officer there, and the doctor says, we've discovered a dead baby in the trash can. And Alexee Trevizo says, quote, I'm sorry, it came out of me. I didn't know what to do. And so her legal counsel has set up HIPAA protects this. She said it in the context of the treatment. It was said to the doctor. The prosecutors are saying, no, HIPAA doesn't apply here. She wasn't alone with her doctor. She was in a room with multiple people. Law enforcement was there. Mom was there. She waived any privilege she had when she opened her mouth and said what she said. Where do you think the Supreme Court's going to come down on this?
Well, good morning, Julie. This is a serious, serious case. Obviously, you have very serious balancing issues here. One where you have the Constitution and the right for someone to be read their rights. So as you said, there was a police officer in there. There was someone who could actually arrest or charge her. So she didn't have an attorney there to assist her. So that's a constitutional right that you have to balance. You also have to balance here the right of the victim or the child who died. That child was a life, was a human. So you have to balance whether or not her constitutional right and the child's rights, which one is going to have the most recourse. So here it's clear that the court has stated that the rights of the actual defendant are one that this nation, that state, that community holds very high. So in speaking to her doctor, it's clear that there was a privilege of being able to speak to the doctor without that information being put out to in third parties. Here, you have someone who just is in the ER. You have someone who's being surrounded by many people. You have someone who's young. So all of these different factors are something that I'm assuming were written into the motion, and that's why the court was able to stall or cease the jury trial that was coming up. So you have a lot of balancing factors. I do believe that with this being a child, that the Supreme Court may say that they may overturn this, but you also have to understand that the defendant is also a child. So this is a very, very serious case, and it's one that we're going to have to keep our eyes on because there are a lot of issues involved in this particular case.
Yeah, there sure are, Ken, and we're going to explore those together. Stand by kindly, if you would, please, for more questions. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, there's a nurse who interviews Alexee Trevizo, and she tells her, she didn't know she was pregnant, right? Did she know she was pregnant? That's another major issue here. We've got video of her cheerleading, looking very pregnant. How did she not know? How did her parents not know if they truly didn't? We'll discuss it all right after this. Was a reporter brutally murdered for digging too deep?
His death was absolutely devastating.
The suspect, a former politician and subject of the victim's story on corruption.
Can you tell us anything?
Now will Robert tell us go from elected official to convicted killer?
Once all the evidence comes out, it'll be clear as day.
Is it possible that bad press is a motive for murder?
The investigative reporter murder trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. The case of Alexee Trevizo, the teenager accused of killing her baby, leaving her baby in a hospital trash can. This is her. This has taken people all around the world in the true crime community by storm. And so we're doing a deep dive into the case this hour today as we're looking at the docket, and suddenly her trial has been canceled. This case is really in limbo because of a ruling by the trial judge to keep out statements and video, and then the prosecutors appealing to the highest court in the state of New Mexico. We're reviewing some newly released videos this morning from the hospital where police interviewed hospital staff members, and we're about to hear from a nurse who tried to register the baby, who was told by Trevizo that she never knew she was pregnant.
Yes, we need to register the baby. And like as a, like a Jane Doe or whatever, like infant male, but there's also like a paper that I need you to, ask her. There's a paper that you need to ask her, and the nurses fill out. And it's very important that that we know whether or not the baby took a breath or whether or not the baby did not take a breath. And I said, okay. Well, so at that time I said, because every nurse by that time had been telling me that this patient had been kind of changing up little bits and pieces of her story while she was in the presence of her mom, I guess. So when I said, okay, I'll try to, get the truth out of her, then Cindy was like, well, whether you have to ask the mother to leave the room, but we need to know. So I went and I found the form that Cindy was talking about, and I go into the patient's room and I introduce myself, and I said, there's just a few questions that I need to ask you, and most of it was like, first and last name, date of birth, social security number, which she didn't know, and then whether or not she knew, whether or not she took any kind of medications, and then so I said, so, right now it's very important that you're very honest and truthful with me. I said, and it was just she and I in the room, and
Mom wasn't there?
Mom was not there.
Okay.
And I said, did your baby take at least one breath when it first happened? Did it take at least one breath, or was it not breathing? And then she kind of looked at me in the face and the eyes, and she was like, well, can I tell you? And I said, tell me what? And she said, so I've been having this bad abdominal pain, she said, and we came here to the ER, and when they brought me back here to this room, I felt like I needed to go poop. She said, and I asked if I could go to the bathroom. She said, and so when they said, yeah, that I could go to the bathroom, she said, when I sat on the toilet, she said, it just all fell out. And she said, but when I had it in my arms, it wasn't breathing, it wasn't moving. And so, of course, you want to be very, very judgmental at that time, and you have to bite your tongue sometimes, but my first reaction was like, I wanted to say, hey, well, then why wouldn't you call us for help? But I didn't. She said, so he wasn't moving, he wasn't breathing. So I just placed him in there.
And was that the last contact you had with her?
Then I asked, so do you have, was it a steady boyfriend? She said yes. And then I said, did he know that you were pregnant? And she was like, no. I said, did you know that you were pregnant? And she said, no. And then I said, so do you want to include him? Because there was a section for like the birth certificate. And I said, so do you want to put his name down as the father? And she said, for what? And I said, this is all new to me too, so this would probably be for the birth certificate as well as a death certificate. And she said no, that she didn't want to put him down. And I said, okay. So I think she had to sign it, and she signed it, and then that was it. That was the only contact that I had with her. And then, of course, they were transferring her to Roswell to be seen by an actual OBGYN doctor. But that because after that, I was just on the phone with my administration team.
I get my machine, I go directly to the ER department, and I said, where's the room that I'm supposed to go into? And they said room 2. So I'm taking my machine over to the room, and there's 2 cops in front of the door, and there's 2 police officers inside the room that the patient was in. So I'm getting ready to go in. There was a little bit of chaos because there's quite a few. The nurses were around. The physician, the ER doctor, was sitting at her desk, and 2 ER nurses stopped me and said, you do not need to do the ultrasound. You could go ahead and leave. I thought, that's fine. Grabbed my machine, started to head back to my department, and then the physician, I can't even remember who the ER doctor was. I can't remember her name. But anyway, she said, Lorraine, do me a favor. And her hands were covering her face, and I saw that she was distraught. And I said, what can I do? What's wrong? And she said, I really do need for you to go in and do the ultrasound. And I said, okay, that's fine. And we're still looking at the same diagnosis. And she mentioned to me, she said, no, this is disturbing. She pulled me aside. She was whispering to me, and she said, apparently what the patient did was she walked in, she goes to the restroom and delivers the baby in the restroom, and then puts the baby in a bag, because the garbages that we have throughout the departments are pretty tall, and there's those large garbage bags that are pretty sturdy. So I guess she delivers it in the bathroom and pulls placenta and everything out, throws the baby in the bag, goes in the garbage. And how she ended up in the room for me to scan her, I have no idea. I didn't get details.
Okay, no, that's fine. Just what you did.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, so I go into the room with her, and I know that I need to scan her, but I need to scan her through the vagina, not through the belly, because I noticed that there was a significant amount of blood on the table. And there was a police officer in there, and I was a little bit uncomfortable with him being there, and so was she. So I asked him if he could step out and just stand by the door. So he did that. So I didn't want to have a conversation with her after I was given this information. But she was talking to me, and while I'm trying to get things set up, and she says, I don't know what's going on. She said, I didn't know I was pregnant. I'm a cheerleader. I started gaining a lot of weight. My clothes were tight. I was taking birth control pills. So she said, this didn't make any sense to me. I don't know what to tell you. And I did my scan, and then I left.
And that was the end of your contact with her?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Other than her telling you that she was pregnant, taking birth control, and her clothes got tighter, did she tell you anything else that may come to mind?
And did you use the belly ultrasound or the vaginal?
Through the vagina.
Through the vagina.
Yeah, and still there was, some tissue, because when you deliver, whether it's a normal delivery or not, sometimes still placenta tissue can still be in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was having a significant amount of bleeding. But after that, I stopped, I told the doctor, and I sent the report out to be read, and that was it.
So think about this, some important facts to hone in on here. The baby was found wrapped in a garbage bag underneath the bigger garbage bag where the trash, was being dumped in that bathroom. And there was lots of blood in that bathroom as well that a hospital employee had to clean up. And that was what initially drew the attention to the trash can and what might have been in it. The employee said it felt a lot heavier than it normally feels. We're going to continue analyzing the case against teenager Alexee Trevizo. Could she really not have known that she was pregnant? And also, when we come back, we're looking ahead to the trial in Las Vegas, Nevada for disgraced politician Robert Tellis. And we continue on that verdict watch in Tennessee for the man who tortured Jennifer Paxton to death. Now he may be put to death by the jury. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. Great to have you with us on this Wednesday, tracking two big trials right now at this hour in Tennessee, watching the verdict clock as deliberations push on. Well over the 4-hour mark in the penalty phase for Sean Finnegan, convicted Monday in the torture, rape, and strangulation of Jennifer Paxton. And we're looking ahead to trial picking back up for this guy, disgraced politician and lawyer Robert Tellis. He is expected to testify in his murder trial. That could happen today. He's accused of killing veteran investigative journalist Jeff Gehrman. Prosecutors say he was upset over some articles that Gehrman was writing about Tellis's affair with a female staffer. Now, we're focusing on the evidence as well in the case against a New Mexico young woman accused of leaving her baby to die in a hospital trash can. 19-year-old Alexee Trevizo went to the hospital complaining about back pain. Video shows her running to the restroom where her baby was later found in the trash can. Here's the doctor telling a police officer what happened.
She put the baby in the trash can, and then she put another clean liner over the top of it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So when they looked in there, there was no trash in there, but it was underneath the clean bag. The baby's dead. Okay, we have him in trauma too, but she killed the kid.
Yeah. How old was the baby?
I don't know. It's full term.
Now let's hear from the charge nurse who was working the night of January 23rd of last year. He describes the dynamics between Trevizo and her mom at the hospital that night. And he's also the one who discovered the newborn in the trash.
I was the charge nurse at the ER that night.
And what is the charge nurse?
Charge nurse is responsible for the overall running of everything that goes on. Any problems or any issues or anything needs to be dealt with as far as well, just about anything, you take care of that. Okay, you're in charge of the whole work center. Yeah. Okay. I was doing triage that night, and so we have three positions. We have 3 nurses, 3 positions. You have a triage nurse, and then we have 2 other nurses that take different rooms. Usually it's 1, 3, and 5, or 2, 4, and trauma 2. And then trauma 1 is one of those rooms where usually we don't have anything in there unless it's bad, and everybody kind of just is in there. So I was doing triage, and I was a charge nurse. It was a regular night. I remember she came in with back pain, and they had put her in. They were going to treat her in triage 1 with some regular medications for back pain. But after the doctor examined her, she was a little concerned, I think, because of her heart rate, some other things. So she wanted to move her into a room and do a more extensive workup, which is what they did. At that point, I don't really know anything because she's taken out, she's not really my patient. Okay. So I know that Chris had her. I know that he came to me and said there were some issues because they had ran a pregnancy test on her, and they found out that she was pregnant. And she was adamant. The mother was in the room with her and was adamant that he was dying to.
Did you see that? Or did it was?
No, Chris came to me and told me this was what was going on because we were having an issue. Okay. And he was worried about the mother, the dynamics between the mother and the daughter, because the daughter was completely denying she was pregnant, and the mother was relatively upset about that she was pregnant. Okay. So
and you're talking about Chris Sanchez.
Chris Sanchez, yeah. And so I told him, well, as long as she behaves, okay, if it's going to make her. And he goes, yeah, she's okay. I think it's going to be fine. So that's the last I heard of it. The next interaction I had was I had the tech, which was Lori Aragon, come and tell me, HT, you need to go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom. There was quite a bit of blood in there. So this was after she came out. She went to the bathroom, was in there for a long time. And Chris was telling me, she won't come out. So I told him, you need to get the key because the bathroom's locked. And so he told her he was going to get the key. And so she came out. But there was some blood in there. So I went to Dr. Vakas and told her, I was worried that she did something to herself physically in the bathroom. The way she reacted to being pregnant and the things that I was being told.
How much blood was in the bathroom?
It was smeared around, so it's hard to tell exactly how much. But it was enough to cause me to have concern. Okay. I really thought she had done something physically to herself when she found out she was pregnant.
Question: when did she find out she was pregnant?
It was pretty early on because we did the urine first off. Any female that comes in with back pain, we do a urine right away because we're worried about a urinary tract infection. And with any female, when we do that, we always do a pregnancy test to make sure we don't give them medications that would contraindicate pregnancy.
Do you know who told her she was pregnant?
I believe Dr. Vasquez did. Okay. I believe. I don't know because I wasn't in the room for that because I wasn't involved with direct care. Okay. But I knew she knew fairly soon because we already were having an issue with the mother being upset about her being pregnant.
Prior to going to the bathroom?
Way prior. Okay. Way prior. Because then they started an IV and then they started running blood work on her, because once you find out someone's pregnant, then you run another lab test to see how far along they are.
Okay.
So they started an IV and we're giving her some fluids. I guess I don't know exactly what they were doing. I wasn't involved. I kind of care. But I told Dr. Vasquez she definitely needs a vaginal exam. I'm concerned that she did something to herself. That was my concern. And they took her right into the room. And then I told Lori, call housekeeping. They got to come clean this up. Which time she called Leela, who was on call for housekeeping. Then I was just sitting there, and then the next thing, Lori comes and goes, HT, oh my God, you better come to the bathroom. And I go in the bathroom, and she goes, something's in the trash can. I'm like, I looked in there, there's a clean liner. I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, pick it up. I picked it, I could feel the weight. I knew then we had a serious problem. I just grabbed the trash can and went right across the hall, and there's trauma 2. The liner was pulled out, but there was another trash bag in there in the bottom, but it was all it was rolled up. So I had to tear it apart. And then, of course, I saw the baby in there. So I pulled the baby out, got him on the bed, checked for signs of life. There was absolutely no life whatsoever. I immediately came out of there after I did that, went into the room where she was performing the vaginal exam, and I immediately told her, you have to come out now. And she came out, and we went into trauma 2, and she reassessed the baby. At that time, between me and Chris and her, we determined, there was no reason for us to begin any life-saving. The baby was completely gone.
Oh my gosh, this is so sad. Can you imagine what that nurse dealt with there? I mean, just what they see day in and day out. Takes such a special such a special person, rather, people like him to work in the medical field. A very sad case with lots of different legal facets to it, we know. Let me bring in trial attorney Cannon Kearney to discuss a bit here. Cannon, a couple things. We talked earlier about the confession being suppressed. Also, we know cause of death is going to be something that's at issue here. We know the medical examiner said hypoxia, that there was some air found in the baby's lungs at autopsy, but Alexee Trevizo said the baby wasn't crying. She thought the baby was stillborn. And we know that her civil attorney is also trying to go after the hospital for administering certain medications to her for the back pain at the time when she was pregnant. So it's getting a little bit convoluted. How much do you think cause of death is going to become an issue explored if and when this case does proceed to trial?
Yes, Julie, this is another issue that you rightly pointed out. It's clear here that the defendant is informing anybody who would listen that the child was dead at the time that she gave birth. There's no one who can testify or that we've heard so far that said they heard a child crying or they heard a baby, inside of the bathroom. All they could say was that they know that the door was locked and that she wasn't coming out, and so they informed her that they were going to get a key. So that is evidence that would tend to assist the defendant in showing that maybe there wasn't any life ever in the child. So maybe it really was a stillborn. So then that goes to whether or not she actually did commit a homicide, or is this some other lesser charge? I also think they're going to have to go to her state of mind. It's clear that there could have been some form of issue with her and her mother. So there's so many different things that the court, the Supreme Court, everyone is going to have to look through with a very, very, very intent understanding that these are children that we're talking about.
So beautifully said, Cannon. Thank you very much.